Well, howdy, roofers. Welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that is dedicated to highlighting fast-growing roofing entrepreneurs, learning how they overcome growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with other roofers in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. I got a little story for you, roofers. Alex Sezer is the CEO of Alex Sezer's Ventures and is an expert in company culture. He shares with us in this episode on how having a strong company culture can help you build your company and how your core values are one of the most important things that you can have and build in your roofing company today. So be sure to listen up as Alex shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, howdy, roofers, and thank you for joining in with us today. We have got a pretty special episode here with a friend of mine, Alex Sezer. Thank you so much for coming on here, Alex.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that is important in the roofing industry is culture. And I think that's, is so awesome.
Yep,
and
right
that you're here, right? It's right up your alley. Why don't you start off here and tell us something that nobody else knows about you?
I'll tell you two things that no one, or maybe the general public may not know. So before I played football at A&M, whenever A&M offered me a football scholarship, I actually had 0 offers and 0 stars, and I did not even have a recruiting profile.
Ooh.
So that's one thing that may not be widespread and known. The other thing is that I speak on stages all the time, but I do not like to go back and watch my own stuff. So it's taken me a very long time because obviously you want to get better and critique yourself. But there's something, and I'm probably not the only person, about our own voices when we're just like, ugh, it makes us cringe. So as much as I speak, it takes a lot of energy to go back and listen to myself and see what I can do better.
I am 100% right there with you, brother. I mean, it's I hate doing the same thing. So, but I agree, it's hard and it's something that you have to do to get better. Yep. At our craft, right?
Absolutely.
So, awesome. All right. Well, so let's dig into the football thing real quick, right? So you played football at Texas A&M?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And the wild story behind that is I played at A&M kind of during the Johnny Manziel era. And A&M actually had a traveling camp at my high school. They called my head coach and said, hey, we just had a school cancel on us. It was the last year these camps were legal. Can we use your school to have a football camp? Well, who turns, Kevin Sumlin down? So They came to my school. I had no plans on going to the camp. And apparently our ground staff had forgot to cut the grass. So it's about 8 inches high.
Oh, no.
And I had been hurt every single year in high school. So I had hardly any football film going into my senior year. That's not good news if you don't have an offer going into your senior year. I ran a 40-yard dash and I start to see heads turn and coaches started to whisper. And someone walked up to me. He said, hey, son, can you do that again? Absolutely. I can do it again. So I go back to the starting line. At this point, every coach at the camp is at the finish line timing me just to make sure that Coach McKinney's thumb wasn't broken. And I blazed it again. And long story short, thankfully they were in my hometown. So they had the chance to talk to my principal and superintendent. And they end up offering me a full scholarship at a position I never played before and end up starting as a true freshman. So pretty crazy.
Wow. That's like a Rudy story right there.
Yeah, no offers. And then a year later, you're on TV playing for Texas A&M, starting as a true freshman. So kind of crazy point to our story to lead to that point.
So what did you run the 40 in then? What was the time on that? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. So I had a bunch of clocks on me. So it varied, 4 threes on grass. Wow. And it was, I think the closest time to my time since the conditions of the field were so bad that day were probably like mid 4.6s. So there were guys at that camp that are playing professional football right now. So it was a pretty impressive feat. It was impressive enough for them to offer me without seeing me play football at a new position.
That is so cool. That is pretty awesome. And you played with Johnny and Mike Evans and all of pretty much the entire rest of the NFL, right?
Yeah, basically Myles Garrett, all the gang. So Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans were my first introduction to playing defensive back. So to go from 0 stars, no name, to walk on the practice field, graduate high school early in the spring, and you're going against the Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel and All-American Mike Evans. That was my introduction to football.
Wow. That's crazy. Mike Evans is a pretty tall guy, right? I mean, I've never
he's
met
a pretty
him in
tall guy,
person,
and I'm a pretty short guy. So,
so basically, you've got some pretty, you can jump pretty high. Then it sounds like.
Yeah, I could jump, and I guess speed was an advantage for me. But yeah, it was a long spring, and eventually I got the hang of it. And to be honest, when I took the field first game, it was like, wow, these guys aren't Mike Evans. So interesting and fun to be able to practice against who I think is, a guy who's a Hall of Famer. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Alex, other than playing football for Texas A&M, and just kind of tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I could kind of condense that for you, I had a background in real estate, got an engineering degree from Texas A&M. So odd combination, football player and engineer. Went to work for a company by the name of Opportune in oil and gas consulting. A year later, I transitioned into real estate. I received a call from a guy I had met in college in his backyard fishing. It's literally multi-million-dollar businesses and partnerships started from me walking up to him and just saying, hey, thank you for allowing us to come and fish in your yard. So that started a friendship that eventually turned into a partnership. I came back to Bryan College Station and started buying real estate. Looked up a year or two later, I was the president of his company. I had started another real estate company, and we bought about 340 units together over the span of 3, 4, 5 years. And then recently just sold that back to him, transitioned out of real estate. I'll still be doing stuff in real estate, but primary focus is now on culture. So while I was at Twin City Properties, being the president, a young president of a company, 2 companies, figured out that it became more than just numbers and houses and duplexes and apartments. It became about the people, having a staff of 25 people, hundreds of vendors, thousands of residents. It's bigger than just, buying property and cash flow. So I learned that it was the cash flow, the spreadsheets were predictable, the people were not. So I had to learn how to create a culture, and really learned a lot of things in a short amount of time, and have been able to package those things to help other people. So kind of in a short sentence, my name's Alex Sezer. I am a culture catalyst. So what I do is I combine the Bible with business, management with a mission, profits with purpose, and culture with Christ to teach workplace leaders how to create the workplace cultures that we crave and radically improve their businesses. So culture equals results for me. So that's what I'm focused on.
Awesome. I love that. So let's dig in a little bit about that. How can, because our audience here is really, roofing entrepreneurs, but as entrepreneurs, we have to understand how culture can influence our workplace. So what can you give us today, just as a little bit of a tip on how to create a really, really good culture in your roofing company?
Absolutely. I think it starts with first defining, what is culture? Culture is a responsibility to steward the things that we're placed in charge of. The cultivate, it's how we care for things. And then 3 words that kind of sum up culture for me are beliefs, behaviors, and results. So how do we kind of shape our beliefs that influence our behaviors that then in turn produce the results that we experience as an organization? So how can that benefit you in the roofing world? So that's what culture is. Why does it matter? 2021, 47 million Americans quit their job. We have this trend of what is called quiet quitting now. And what is it called? Like rapid applying or whatever it is. You get mad at your boss, you start applying for jobs. All of these things are happening, and they're a symptom of poorly designed organizational cultures. An easy way for roofers to stand out is to have a strong organizational culture, strong vision, mission, purpose, core values, a strong brand. All of those things are different modules on how I teach culture. But let me just give you a small example. So I had a huge roofing project, a $1 million project, 3 humongous commercial buildings, flat roofs. We had a hailstorm. Probably got on that roof about 50 times to get bids and quotes. Wow. Because one, I'm trying to figure out how should we fix it? What type of material should we use? When can you do it? Like all of those types of things. Here's what separated the guy who got the job from everyone else. Number one, he was transparent with me. Like I could tell from day one, like this is who we are. This is how we do it. I never had a question on if he was going to return my phone call.
Wow.
Every time I called him, he picked up or he called me immediately back. He actually did a job before that job previously for us. And it was just kind of a spray coating. So we have this spray coating, and then we had a leak.
Oh, man.
That's when you figure out kind of who's the best and who's the rest, is when things go wrong. So I'm thinking, man, like we just had this coating, and traditionally we kind of self-insured. So we had a hailstorm, and just kind of having that mind of self-insurance, I wasn't thinking file a claim. So I'm like, man, our roof is leaking 6 months later.
Yeah.
I called him and he showed up an hour away the same day, got on top of the roof, figured out that, there was some hail damage to the roof, walked us through filing the claim, helped us file the claim, fix the roof. And then after that, we have a brand new roof, and anything that went wrong in the process of it, if there was, for example, you uncover those flat roofs and it takes a while to put them back on a big building, a couple of days. And if there was rain and any water got in, he was walking around talking to the tenants. Hey, here's what's happening. We're replacing it. We have a temporary seal at this spot. You may see some water. Every single step of the way, I never had to question, is this guy who he says he is? Is he going to return my phone call? If something goes wrong, that's a lot of money to spend, $1 million on a project and not have it done the right way, and then not have a phone call returned. So once you see that in the contracting world, it stands out tremendously. When you return that phone call, when you give that bid, when you say you're going to give that bid, all of those things will separate you from the competition just by showing up and being consistent.
Absolutely. So was this the owner that you were working with, or was this an employee? Okay.
I was actually working with the owner. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and he,
awesome.
He had a team out there, obviously, when they were replacing it, but he orchestrated a lot of the groundwork and the mechanics of everything.
Interesting.
So I was very impressed with, how he did things. And I think he's now franchised and everything and kind of taking steps away from the business. But yeah, so that stood out to me. Another thing is, when you think about core values, for me, I think that values, call it the 3 Ds of designing core values. They need to be decided. What are they? Defined. Like, what does that mean? So give terminology to that word so that we have a collective understanding of it. And the third step is they need to be demonstrated. Like, how do we actually show this? And that creates that feedback loop. So for example, if you're a roofer and you say that one of your core value is quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then you go back and define quality. Like, we use, maybe it's the highest standard of materials, and our quality of work is ensured for X amount of years. If there's any workmanship type of errors or anything like that, we come back within X amount of years and we fix it. And then something happens and you follow through and demonstrate that, you've earned trust.
Yeah.
So it's not always being perfect. Like, man, we 100% of the time we do it right. I don't know if I trust that.
Yeah.
But when you're 90+%, you do it right the first time. And then when those problems happen and you fix them, you've almost created a stronger customer by having problems.
Right.
When they see that you fix your problem. So that can go a very, very long way. And then the next thing that happens, and actually, I just posted a video about this morning, is that you start to have that word of mouth marketing where people go, hey, man, have you tried XYZ roofing? Like, they're the best. And that carries so much power in any world of business to where people refer you. So anytime that you say it and then you do it, that creates trust in the mind of your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you think that roofers in general, right, a roofing company entrepreneur, right, can really start building that into their business? Where do they even start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of different things. So I always start with the vision of the organization. So what are we aiming to accomplish? Next, I go with purpose. Like, why are we a business?
Yeah.
Then I get into the mission. Like, that's kind of the daily operations. What are we looking to accomplish in the short term? From there, so I have vision, purpose, mission, our core values. Like, let's define them, or define and demonstrate. From there, your team, like the type of people that you hire is very, very, very important. Like, it literally is make or break for your business. You have to find people that are in alignment with your values, your mission, your vision, because when you find people who are bought into that, there's a lot less micromanagement involved. It's like, hey, these people believe in this vision, and you let them run towards that. And then, different types of ways of, hiring people. I call it, I have a lot of alliteration. So the 3 C's of hiring properly. Number 1 is competency. Are they actually able to do the job required with excellence? Number two would be character. So do they match our core values? Can we trust that this type of person fits in our organization? And then lastly is capacity, like making sure that you put the right person in the right seat. Like not everyone is going to walk in and day one be the CEO, obviously, but maybe they have a CEO personality that you can place them in a manager position and groom them for something else. In the roofing world, like maybe this person is better at coordination than they are at actually putting on a shingle. And you have to identify those things and figure out like where best do my people fit. So culture isn't just here's a vision and that's where we stop. Like we have to make sure that we have inspiration long-term, motivation for today and short-term. So all of those things kind of go into it. Core values that shape how we behave. We have to make sure that it's a total package when creating a culture of an organization.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So let me ask then on, as we're talking about core values, what are your core values?
Yeah, absolutely. So for my organization, I'm big on like acronyms because I want people to be able to remember like what we say and what we do without going, okay, let me memorize this. Yeah. So for me, it's love, integrity, vision, excellence, and service. And that equals lives. So that's what I'm out to change and impact. I'm out to change organizations and change the lives of the people that operate within those organizations. So then I practice what I preach. So that is the word. So that's the decided core values. Then I go back and I define those core values. Mm-hmm. Love, treat others as ourselves. Yeah, integrity,
just like in the Bible, right?
Yep. Tell and live the truth, even if it hurts. Vision, live today like tomorrow matters. Excellence, we give our all in all. Service, be inconvenienced to help others. So now whenever I sit down with someone, I bring people into my different organizations, they actually know these are our values. This is what those values mean. This is how Alex expects for those values to be exemplified and displayed within our organization. And then I have to do it. Yeah. Decide, define, and demonstrate. And when people see me operate in that manner, it reinforces those beliefs, and values become value statements that become value actions within the organization.
Love it. And yeah, it truly does come from the owner down, right? I mean, it's got to come from the main person in charge of the company as that. But how does like a leadership team have say in some of those core values? Like do you sit down with the leadership team, or is it just strictly coming from the entrepreneur when you're defining those core values?
Absolutely. So I would say, number one, it depends, because a lot of people start off solo. So it kind of comes from you at that point. And sometimes after you start to expand, maybe your core values won't change per se, but they morph.
Okay.
Things get added to them. So for example, if the idea of organizational vision, the vision may morph over time. Like, okay, here's our 5-year deal. Like, here's where we're going the next 5 years. Yeah. So it just depends on obviously how big the organization is. But I would always encourage people to involve others in this process. Number one, it's because it gives them ownership of the idea. So it's kind of the difference between asking for an opinion versus advice. Advice brings you into my flock and says, how can we better do this? Mm-hmm. How can we do this better? Like, how do we make a change? And then when your leaders get to go, man, I think this is who we are. And we do things this way, you get a different perspective. Because sometimes when you're just trying to do things by yourself, you don't have that full scope of like, this is who we actually are. And I would even go a step further. Here's kind of a little hack.
Okay.
So involve your leadership team, but if you've serviced people, listen to what they say about you. Okay. Because that gives you clues into maybe your core values, your organizational purpose. Because, for example, let's say if you go to Google and you have 50 reviews, and a lot of those views are, man, they really treated us like rock stars. Man, the way that this roofing company, they answered the phone and they did this, maybe customer service is a huge core value for you.
Right.
I have never seen a product as durable as what they offer. Yeah. So all of those things give you clues into how you're perceived and then how you also portray yourself to other people. So sometimes we can't see all of those things. We have those blind spots. So I think it's important to involve your leaders. And also, if you service people already, figure out what your customers are saying about you.
I love that. That's a great hack right there. So all you roofers out there, start looking through all of your reviews, right? And get that figured out. And if you've got a good review system in place, you should have over 100 reviews at this point,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And what you can do, this is kind of another little tip. I call it mission marketing.
Okay.
So it's how do you take your mission statement and flip it on its head and turn it into marketing?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different things I combine in my mission statement. So number one is what I do, how I do it, why I do it, who I service, and core values.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you combine all of those things into one? So for example, like if I was a clothing company, like, okay, well, obviously I make clothes. That's what I do. How do I do it? Sustainability. How do I do it? Preserve the planet. Who do I do it for? Conscientious consumers. And then lastly, core values, like maybe it's sustainability or something like that mixed into that statement. And then you can flip that mission on its head and market it. And here's what I mean. You reverse it. So you start with the why, kind of like Simon Sinek says, and then you go, we believe in preserving our planet and creating clothing for those that are both conscientious and fashionable. So you kind of start with that why, and then you get into the what's and the how. So as a roofer, if you're looking at reviews and you realize like, man, this is something that we do well and people recognize it, take all of those reviews, flip them upside down and turn them into marketing. So now you know what the customer valued. They told you the secrets. It's like they've already given us like what people are going to resonate with, what is most valuable to them. You take that value proposition and flip it on its head, turn it into marketing.
Absolutely love that. Simon Sinek is Start With Why. If you haven't read that book, y'all,
great book.
You need to read it. And actually, you can shortcut that. He's got a great TED Talk video, right?
Yep.
You just do a search for Simon Sinek, and actually down below in the comments, I'll put a link to that. It's something that I send to my clients every single, when they first start working with me, because I 100% agree with that whole philosophy of starting with why.
Yep.
Okay.
And for me, that why produces perseverance. It's like when you can attach purpose to what you're doing, like days are going to be tough. I so admire what roofers do. It's hot. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're sweaty. You're figuring it out. You're getting calls and, hey, we have a leak and maybe it's related to you. Maybe it's a hailstorm and you don't know and you have to go out there and figure it out. It gets rough. But when you know why you do what you do, it changes things.
Absolutely agree on that. So regarding these core values, and we're talking about a couple of different things here, but how often should you revisit those core values? Is it a yearly thing? Is it every 5 years, 3 years, something like that? What are your thoughts?
So I always have kind of an end of the year review and a beginning of the year kind of forecast. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a yearly process because it kind of takes time to see things unfold and really have a true evaluation, have a full data set of like, okay, this is what people are saying about us. Here's what we did well. Here's things that we can improve on. So for me, it's kind of a end of the year, beginning of the year type process to where we look back and look forward.
Yeah.
Here's what we did well. Here's what we didn't do well. Here's what we can improve on. And then here's where we're going next year.
Awesome. All right. So moving forward a little bit, right? This is something that we ask our roofers, but I'm going to ask you, right? Okay. Alex, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is your mission? What is your 10-year, 5-year moonshot?
Yeah. So one big thing for me is obviously public speaking. So I have two different ones I'm putting some pressure on myself, not 5 years, but 2 years to speak to 1 million people live. So I've kind of broken down what that looks like. But yes, a million live audience. So they'll have to be not recorded, preferably in person, but Zoom works also if it's live. So 1 million people live. And then also for the curriculum, the Culture Catalyst program to reach 3,500 organizations in the next 2 years.
Absolutely.
So I've got work to do.
Yeah. That's a tough one too, right? 1 million people live. So that's awesome. And we are heading into the lightning round. All right. The lightning round rules are simple. You have 1 minute or less to answer each question. You ready, Alex?
I'm ready.
Awesome.
I'm known for being fast.
Well, that's right. You're way faster than me. Let me put it that way. All right. Number 1, what is your favorite hack? This can be a personal hack or a business hack. Anything goes at this point.
Do something hard early. So whenever I was in middle school, I started working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. That kind of helps to jumpstart your day, get the body moving, get the brain going. and to also do something complicated and kind of a forced self-discipline that helps you do harder things later on.
Right. So eat that frog, right?
Yep. Eat that frog.
All right. Number 2, what is the favorite advice that you have ever been given, and bonus points for how you actually applied it?
Ooh. So I've heard different iterations of this one idea in my family, but it starts with the Bible. So whatever your hand finds to do it with your might. Another version of that is my grandma used to tell me, good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is better and your better best. So for me, the way I've applied that is anything that I do, I'm going to give you my all, or I'm not going to do it. So go all in or I'm all out.
Love it. Absolutely love that. All right. What is your superpower, Alex?
Ooh, superpower. Taking complex ideas and making them simple.
Love it.
I know how to get the best out of people. So whether it's a complicated set of information or a complicated idea like culture, condense it down and make it easily understandable. Take information, give application, lead to transformation.
So what gets you out of bed and excited about your business, Alex?
Yeah, I'm all about the people. So being able to build workplace cultures that then influence and impact the lives of the people that work within those organizations and give them more purpose and more meaning to what they're doing, that lights me up in the morning. So I'm all about the people.
So very cool. Well, Alex, how can the roofing community get in touch with you and support you moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything I talked about, or a lot of the stuff I talked about, can be found at Alex Sezer, SEZER.com, alexsezer.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I think I'm on YouTube. Took a little 3-year break from social media, but I'm back and pushing out content. So, and then Alex at alexsezer.com. So love to hear from you. If I can help your culture, let me know.
Absolutely love it. And by the way, I've been following you on LinkedIn ever since we started talking.
Nice.
And, I've been seeing all your short videos. Love them. Absolutely love them.
Thank you.
Content rules right now. And I love how you're tying culture back, the Bible, versus in with culture. I think that's so very cool.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very few businesses businessmen actually do that. So that's very cool.
Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate your generosity for coming on the Roofer Growth Hacks podcast here, Alex, and sharing your vision, right? And your core values with us and really helping to shape us as company and business owners and entrepreneurs, how we can shape our company. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast, and I appreciate you for just having me and being able to communicate with your audience and your reach. So to all of your roofers out there, go kill it.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty amazing or what? I know that I took a lot of valuable hacks that Alex shared with us. My favorite, honestly, was when he talked about mission marketing, because I am a marketing geek, right? As a chief marketing officer, I better be a marketing geek, but I thought that was super, super interesting on how he took a mission statement, right? Your big, hairy, audacious goal, whatever you want to call this, your moonshot, right? And flipped it on its head and really start with why you're doing it in kind of the fashion of Simon Sinek. I found that really, really interesting. He also shared a lot of really, really good tips on how to really develop your core values, how to share them with your company, and really why you need to share those things and how often that you should do that. And I 100% agree with him that, you should be looking at your core values on a yearly basis, but not just by yourself, right? Because we're not islands out there, as entrepreneurs. We have leadership teams, and we want to make sure that we're meeting with our leadership team on a yearly basis to go over how did this past year go? How are we forecasting for this next year? And then really just defining and saying, are these still our core values? Is this truly what represents our company, right? Get more than one opinion on that. And additionally, look through your reviews online, right? See what other people are saying about you. And maybe that will help shape your core values of your company. Then to take those core values and share them out, not only with your employees, but also in all of your marketing. I think it's super, super important to do that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with today's guest, with Alex, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever that he is. We're going to have links to that down in the bottom here. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can check out our website at roofergrowthhacks.com, and you can listen to previous episodes while you're there. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using my 4R roofing marketing system. And by the way, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hand, I'll send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free copy of my book. You see, I'm on a mission to double the size of 100 roofing companies before 2028, and my book is the exact blueprint on how to get your marketing right. Well, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I am Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.